So now we should have two legs. So this is the one that we did together earlier, and then this is the one I've just finished now, so the yarn is still attached to this one. So what we need to do is we need to work out what's the left handmost stitch when the leg is facing us. So if I'm looking at my one now, I reckon it's probably this stitch here, so that's 4 single crochets away from where my stitch currently is. And what we need to do is we need to single crochet to this point, and then I will just check that I'm happy with that. So let's see, yep, that looks about right. So now what we need to do is we need to chain 3, and then we need to select the rightmost stitch of this leg and we need to single crochet into that. So I'm just going to have a look and see. I reckon it's probably this one. So we single crochet to that stitch, and then we do 9 single crochets all the way around this leg. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now we've single crocheted all the way around this leg here. So now we need to do 3 single crochets into the back of that chain 3 that we did. So right, so we need to go. This can be a little fiddly. So 1, 2, struggling to get that loop, 3, and then we just need to do 5 single crochets into the other leg. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now you will see that the legs are now joined together, and we've got one big round now going. So what we should do is we should put a stitch marker into the next stitch, and that's going to signify that this is the start of the next round. So I consider what we did there as round 1 of the body, and the next round is going to be round 2. So just to make it very clear, this is the start of round 2. So I will show you what we need to do in round 2. So round 2 is simple, we just need to single crochet all the way around. So there should be 26 single crochets in the round, so there's 10 on either leg, and then there's obviously the 6 in the middle, 3 either side. I'm just going to show you me doing this first round just in case it helps you. So we do 1 single crochet, put the stitch marker back in, and then there should be 4 more single crochets onto this leg. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we do 3 single crochets into the middle bit. So 1, these these ones can be a little bit tight. 2, 3, and then we need to do 10 single crochets into this leg, so 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm just getting some more yarn, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we need to do the other 3 back single crochets, so 1, 2, 3, and then we need to do 5 into this leg. And if you're ever not sure where to start, kind of work back from the stitch marker. So this was the first stitch of the round, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so this must be the next stitch, because sometimes it's a little bit hard to tell on these rounds where we're joining stuff together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that was the end of round 2. So now you can see we're starting to really join these legs together and make kind of like the actual body of Sailor Moon. So for the next 2 rounds, so rounds 3 and 4, we just do the same thing again, so single crochet all the way around, and then at the end of round 4 we need to do a colour change. So again, I'll meet you at the end of round 4. So we're on the final stitch of round 4 now, and we need to change our colour to white, so we yarn over in white, and that completes round 4. So now we've changed our colour to white, what we need to do is we need to do quite a few rounds now that are fairly straightforward, so I'll just explain what we need to do. So for round 5 we just need to single crochet all the way around. For round 6 we need to decrease, then do 11 single crochets, then decrease, then 11 single crochets, so that brings us down to 24. Then round 7, single crochet all the way around, so 24 single crochets. Round 8, decrease 10 single crochets, decrease 10 single crochets, so that brings us down to 22 single crochets. Rounds 9 to 10, single crochet all the way around. Round 11, decrease 9 single crochet, decrease 9 single crochet, so bring us down to 20. Round 12, single crochet all the way around. Round 13, decrease 8 single crochet, decrease 8 single crochet, bring us down to 18. Round 14, increase 8 single crochet, increase 8 single crochet, so bring us back up to 20. And then round 15, increase 9 single crochet, increase 9 single crochet, so bring us back up to 22. Then round 16 to 18 is just single crochet all the way around, so 22 single crochets, and that will obviously give us the appearance of the waist, so that's why we sort of decrease and then we increase again. So what I will do is I will come back to you at the end of round 18, as that's when we need to do something slightly different, and then I will talk you through the rest of the rounds for the body. So now I've got to the end of round 18, and as you can see, the beginning of each round is starting to move round to the right, and we don't want that. We actually want the start of the round to be at the right hand side of the body. So after the end of round 18, what we need to do is we just need to single crochet enough stitches to get to this right hand side. So if you do the sort of same thing that we did at the beginning, so you have a look at the body and you think to yourself which is the right handmost stitch, so I think it's this one here on mine, so that means I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches to get to that point. So we take out our stitch marker and we go 1, 2, 3, and now this stitch here becomes our first stitch of round 19, so we just put a stitch marker in here. So for round 19, what we need to do is we actually need to change colour back to light pink, so I will just undo this stitch here so that we can actually yarn over in the right colour. So let's get some light pink. So yep, now we've got our light pink attached, and what we need to do is round 19 we just single crochet all the way around, so 22 single crochets. Round 20 decrease 9 single crochet, decrease 9 single crochet, so down to 20. Then round 21 we do decrease 3 single crochet and we repeat that 4 times, so we end up with 16 single crochets. Then round 22 we do decrease 2 single crochet and we repeat that 4 times, so we end up with 12 single crochets. And then round 23 we decrease in every stitch all the way around, so we end up with 6 single crochets, and that will be sort of the neck. So I will crochet up to the end of round 23, and then I will show you what we need to do to start creating the head. And just as well, I've been stuffing sort of moderately as I go along, but if you've forgotten to do that up to this point, don't worry, you can add some stuffing now, and just remember to keep adding a little bit of stuffing as you go along. So yep, I'll see you at the end of round 23. So now we've reached the end of round 23, so we just have this very small hole left here, which is the neck, and there should be 6 single crochets all the way around. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start building up the head from here, so it'll start to come out like this. So for the first round we just need to increase in each stitch all the way around, so I'll start doing that now. Was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then for the next round we need to again increase in every single stitch around, so that gets us to 24 single crochets in the round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. I'll meet you at the end of the round. So I got to the end of round 25, so we've got 24 single crochets in the round now. And now for round 26, what we need to be doing is we need to go single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, and so on all the way around. So that will get us up to 36 this time. So that was the first single crochet, so 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on all the way around until we reach the end. So just finished round 26, so now we've got 36 single crochets all the way around, and then for round 27 we're going to do 5 single crochets, increase, 5 single crochets, increase all the way around, so that'll be 6 times, and that will bring us up to 42. So I'll show you the start of this round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and if we repeat that pattern 5 more times, then we'll get to 42 single crochets. So now we're at the end of round 27 and we've now got 42 single crochets all the way around. So I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds because they're fairly straightforward. So at this point we've kind of got our head to the width that we need it to be. So we're just going to do a few rounds of just single crocheting all the way around. So we're going to do round 28 to round 39. We're going to single crochet all the way around. Then round 40 we're going to do 5 single crochets, decrease, and repeat that 5 more times to get us back down to 36. And then for round 41 we're going to do 4 single crochets, decrease, and again repeat that 5 more times. That'll get us down to 30 single crochets at the end of round 42. Sorry, round 41, not 42. Then when we get to the end of round 41 we will put the eyes on and start looking at adding some detail to the face, because I think it's easier to do it at that stage than when the face has already sort of been closed off and stuffed and everything like that. So yeah, I will meet you at the end of round 41. So I just reached the end of round 41 and now we're going to put the eyes in. So I'm just thinking to myself, where should the eyes sit? So when I made my previous doll, I made a note that I think I put the eyes between rows 35 and 36, so I'll have a look and see where that is. So row 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, so around this point here. So I might just put an eye maybe here. And then I said that I did them 8 stitches apart, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, so around this stitch maybe. It doesn't, you don't have to follow it exactly how I do it, just basically put them wherever you feel looks the best. So that's where I've put them. Now I'm just going to compare it to my other doll and see if I think that's, yep, that looks about right to me. So once you've decided where your eyes will go, you just need to obviously put the backs of the safety eyes onto the back. So, and I didn't put any stuffing in the head just to make this a bit easier, so it's up to you. You can do it with the stuffing if you can sort of maneuver around it, but I decided not to do that. So I'm just going to place the back on, and I'm not going to push it all the way down yet. I'm just going to push it the first sort of ridge, because usually on these safety eyes there's 2 or 3 different ridges that you have to push the back over. So I'm going to do the same here, just the first. And then what we need to do is we're going to embroider some additional detail onto the eyes. Now this is an optional step. You could just stop here with the eyes if you're happy with how they look like this, and that's completely fine, but I like to add a bit more detail, so let's do that next. So I'm going to use some scrap black yarn to add sort of some eyelashes, I guess you would say. So I'm going to feed my yarn through into about this stitch here, I think, and the reason why I haven't put the back on fully on the safety eye is because I will usually, in order to secure this yarn, I will put some of it underneath between the pink yarn and the back, and then I will snap it down fully so that that sort of secures the black yarn in place once I've decided where it's going to go. So if I just pull it through like that, and then I think to myself, where approximately should the eyelash end? So maybe about here. You might need to play around with this a little bit just to see what looks good to you. I'll pull that a little bit. Now look at that. Let me see. Yep, that looks okay. So then now that I've finished with that, I'll turn it round. And as I mentioned, I will feed the black yarn underneath this back here. And then I'm not going to snap it down yet because we're going to also add some white detail, which I'll also need to add underneath this safety cap. But yeah, this is how it's going to look in the end. So I'll show you how to do the white detail as well. So I've got my scrap white yarn now, and I'm going to do a similar thing. So I'm going to feed the white yarn through, I think, into this stitch perhaps, and then I'm going to feed it back through this one. Yep, I like how that looks. So now what I'm going to do is, on the back, as I mentioned before, I'm going to, sorry, there's quite a lot of ends here, but hopefully you can sort of understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to feed the white yarn underneath here and also try and do this piece as well so that everything is underneath, and then I will finally snap that down in place, and then you can kind of snip everything close to the edge, and that should just keep it all in place, and then you won't be able to see as well like ends sort of floating around in the gaps, because sometimes if you try and sort of knot it around to secure it instead of securing it under the safety eye cap, then you might see some black bits poking through even after you've stuffed it. So that's the way that I like to do it. So now that's done, I will just go in and, like I say, trim all of this down. So there we have it. That's one of the eyes, so I'm going to obviously do the same thing on the other side. Also, if you're finding that these bits are not staying in place very well, like they're moving around a lot, then you can get some glue and you can just add a little dab of glue underneath and you can stick it down. But I think for me this one looks like it's not going to move around too much, so I think I'm not going to bother gluing that one. I'll see how I get on with the other eye, maybe I'll add a bit of glue to that one. But the main thing that I like to use the glue for is the mouth, because I do find that it's hard to get sort of like a smile shape without gluing it down. So yeah, I'm going to do the other eye like I've just done with this one, and then when I come back we're going to embroider the mouth, and then we can carry on finishing off the head, and then we'll start making the details for the rest of the doll. So I've got both eyes completed now, and I mean it's kind of difficult to get them to be exactly symmetrical, so you'll probably notice there's a slight difference between the two eyes, but you know, that's completely fine. It's really difficult to get them exactly perfect, so if you've managed to do that, well done, because even I struggle with that. So now we're going to embroider the mouth. So this time I'm using embroidery thread, just a small amount, because I want it to be thinner than the eyelash detail, but you could use black DK yarn if you want to as well. It's completely up to you. Now I didn't make a note of exactly where I placed the mouth on my first doll that I made, but I think looking at it, it was maybe a couple of rows below the eyes and then maybe about here. I mean, just try things and see what they look like, and if you don't like it you can always reposition it. So I'm going to try this and see how this looks. Yep, I like that, so I'm going to leave it like this, and then what we need to do is, now be very careful when you're knotting the embroidery thread at the back, because you don't want to pull it too tight so that you end up losing this sort of smile shape, assuming that you want her to be smiling. I mean, obviously you can put whatever expression you want on her, so maybe use your thumb to hold it down whilst you are knotting this at the back. So just select any sort of stitch and do a little knot, and I need to do the same thing on the other side. So here, and again I think I might have pulled it a bit too much, so I'm going to go back and pull a bit out. There we go. Then hold it. In fact, I'm just going to use my crochet hook for this one, because this length is a little bit short, so it's hard to use my embroidery needle to knot that. So there we go. So now we've knotted that at the back, and as you can see, you know, the face isn't going to remain smiling like this because it's just going to move around like this. So this is why I like to start using some glue at this stage to sort of glue the mouth into the position that I want it. So I'm just going to take my Fabri-Tac, and I'm just going to squeeze it so that there's some product coming out of it, just a little bit. We only need a tiny dab here. It takes a while for it to come out. There we go. Okay, so it's starting to come out now. So I'm just going to add like the tiniest little dab about here. Sometimes I use my finger to get it off. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this method, but you know, it kind of works. So I've added like a tiny dab there, you can see, and then I just sort of press this down in the position that I want it, and then I take a look. Am I happy with that? Is that going to look good when it's stuffed? Just like I say, just play around with it a bit. You have to just kind of give it a go and see how it comes out. Sometimes it's not going to look exactly perfect, but like I say, no one's really going to notice unless they look up close, so don't worry too much about getting it exactly perfect. I think I'm happy with the position of the mouth, so I'm just going to leave that to dry for a little bit so that I don't accidentally move it while I'm doing the next stages. But while that's drying, I can talk you through what we need to do next. So all we need to do is we just need to basically finish off the head now. So we're going to move on to round 42, so that's going to be 3 single crochets, decrease, repeat that 5 more times. That's going to get us down to 24. Then we're going to move on to round 43, which is 2 single crochets, decrease, again repeat 5 times, and that will get us to 18. Then we're going to do single crochet, decrease, repeat 5 more times, that gets us down to 12, and then on the final round 45 we're just going to decrease all the way around, that gets us down to 6, and then we can close up the hole and weave in the end. Just make sure that you don't forget to stuff the head maybe in the next round, and just keep adding little bits of stuffing as you go along. You don't want to necessarily over stuff the head, because otherwise you might end up with quite a floppy doll if the head is a bit too heavy, but we can go back and reinforce the neck if that ends up happening, and I can show you how to do that as well. We'll see how this doll ends up going, whether we need to reinforce the neck. So yeah, just carry on to the end of, I would say, round... Yeah, if you get to the end of round 45, which is the final round, then I can show you how to close off the head if you're not sure how to close off the hole, and then we can move on to the next parts of the doll. So we've reached the end of the final round, so now I'm just going to show you how to close off the hole. So I'm just going to snip the yarn, and then get my needle, and then I'm just going to thread the yarn through the front loop only of all of the 6 loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then if you just pull tight, the hole should close up like that, and then you can just poke that through any other stitch like this, and then you can just snip. It doesn't matter if the hole isn't closed up particularly neatly, because actually this is going to be covered by the hair anyway. So now we have our basic shape. So we've got the head, the body, and the legs all together. So what we're going to move on to doing next is the hair for the head, which is crocheted in a few different parts. So get your light yellow yarn and I'll show you how to do the next part.